Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kendra Mattingly, author of Unhooked, 40 Days to Breaking the Chains of Addiction. And you can get your copy on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Today, this is a series of interviews. So if you've missed my previous interviews, go catch up. So today we're going to be talking about how I created this process, how I came up with the protocols, and why this book is so important for literally anyone to have at their disposal for a toolbox, essentially, for overcoming and healing trauma that we all inevitably experience living on this planet. So, as I said, I walked my friend through me and myself and my friend through this 40-day process before we went to Egypt. And that was in March of 2021. And since then, her and I both still have never drank. At that time, I still drank on occasions until this process. But what I noticed was that thank you so much, my consciousness had shifted around alcohol. It was like, why would I want to have a drink? There wasn't even that desire. Hello. And so I walked through, I was in a container with one of my friends who was leading. It was like a transformational event. And what I was noticing in that transformational event was everyone was talking about some form of addiction that they had. And I was noticing it. I'm like, oh, if it's not one thing, it's another. And so I started to ask, I wonder if this process that I came up with my primary guide, of course, I wonder if it would work with all people. And I wonder if I could lead people through it online. And so I just opened it up. I just made an announcement on Facebook, and I was like, hey, if I were to lead you through a 40-day journey of surrendering all addictions, who would be up for joining with me and allowing me to test these protocols on you? And let's see if we can truly surrender all forms of addiction. And within the first hour, I had 66 people join the Facebook group. And within the first day, I had over 100 people join the group. And when I started doing my intake with everyone, I noticed that we had like every form of addiction. We had somebody who had literally spent his whole entire adult life being addicted to something. It was pretty regular. He was addicted to heroin, meth. He did cocaine pretty regularly, smoked cigarettes every day. He took one to come up and one to level him out. And like he was just always on something. And I feel like he is one of my biggest success stories because I was a little nervous about him going through detox and him being in a different state. And so I asked him if he would stand as um, basically allowing me to do a healing session on him or with him, and then allow that to be a ripple effect that would help other people. And so he allowed me to take him through a healing experience, and we like watched him. Like it's like a spirit. It's like it's a demonic spirit that addiction is. And we watched it like be released from him. It was incredible. And still to this day, which that was October of 2022, still to this day, we're in contact pretty regularly. And he has not touched a drug or a drink since. And he's working on getting his doctorates. And he's traveling the world helping people. Well, not traveling the world, traveling the United States, helping others surrender their addiction. So what I found in this 40-day process, which I also journeyed, we started with a 3-day water fast, and I had no idea about autophagy. So when you do a fast, one of the reasons why it's so powerful is because depending on your body, within the first 24 to 72 hours, your body goes into autophagy, which it goes and it gets rid of all of the dead cells and it creates new ones. And normally that only happens every 7 years in our body. So this is a way to kickstart this healing process. And then we went into a 12-day juice cleanse. And this was my first time ever even juicing. My idea of juicing was like smoothies before this process, but luckily my roommate was really versed in this. So what I found with the juice cleanse is by day like 11, we stopped having this craving for food. And then when we got done with the juice cleanse, it was so interesting because we had a couple of people living all in one house, and we were all walking through this together. And then I had a bunch of people online. And when we broke the fast, everybody was ready to eat. And I was like, I could go a couple more days. And so we went camping and I stayed on the juice cleanse because it was so inspiring that I no longer had this like carnivorous need to eat. And then eating becomes a choice. Thank you so much. So every single day I had each member in the group go live and share their experience. And so when we did the 3-day water fast, what happens is every single thing that we're addicted to, it gets flooded to the surface because it can't hide, because we're not using food as a coping mechanism. And so, I mean, it's so incredible. Like I invite you all to join me and walk this 40 days out starting on Friday, tomorrow, and see how long you can go if you do a water fast. If you drink warm water with lemon, it tends to make you fuller. So you can kind of trick yourself. But then also, if you're into any kind of prayer or meditation, it allows you to be so clear because your gut isn't distracting you. And it just allows the guidance to come in so much clearer. And when you allow yourself to just be in that space, and I always invite my clients to not think of it like, oh, this is going to be so difficult. I had a client that was saying that once, and I was like, well, let's start over then. Because I don't want you to go into it with this mindset of, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. Because then you're only focused on the lack, and that's not shifting the consciousness. So we have to truly go into these things like this is like it's a gift. We get to do this, and look at it in that way. I'm not sure if I can complete such a fast, but I'll definitely try. Well, it's so empowering to see that you can. And you can drink as much water as you need to. And it's so beautiful because like I can't explain like what happens, but you know how they talk about like a runner's high? It's like that times 100 because you can literally feel your body is being completely reborn. It must have felt so heartwarming to hear about other people's experiences. Yeah, that's really what kept us all going through the 40-day challenge. That group consciousness is so powerful. And I just got off the phone with somebody that I'm looking at supporting in their recovery center. And we have no idea how interconnected we are. And I feel like the pandemic was a way for us to see how incredibly connected we are. And just look how we had the choice to fear one another and, push each other away and think that we were going to get sick if we were too close to each other. But it really showed us how connected we are, right? And so we're all connected in consciousness. And so I walked this group through this process October of 2022. And this woman I just got off the phone with, she's never heard of me. This was the first time we ever talked. And her husband last October, so a year later, just decided, hey, let's give up alcohol and go on a fast. And they went on a juice cleanse. And I guess her husband went on this juice cleanse for 4 months. And she said both of them have never been the same. But she said it just came to her and they just decided to do it. And that's because the consciousness has been seeded. And so if you can see somebody that's having an experience that you desire, it's available to you because the consciousness is there and it's saying it exists. All you have to do is tap into it. All you have to do is remove the blocks that are telling you that you can't have it or that you can't do it. And so we went through this walk together, and every single day I had them document their experience and go live. And anytime that they were triggered, I invited them to go live and I gave them a specific process to walk themselves through. And we even invited people in the group to trigger each other, knowing that that other person isn't really what's making you upset. They're just reflecting to you something that already exists. And so maybe they remind you of your mother or your father, your brother, sister, your spouse. And now you guys can work out this trigger and find a resolution. And then you can take that to your other relationships. And so I gave them a very specific process so nobody was blaming each other or things didn't get out of control. And any time that they got stuck or it was like too much, I would come on and ask if I could take them through a healing session. Or I should say, because I can't legally say healing, a prayer. I took them through a healing prayer. Let's say that. And so it was beautiful because now there is videos that stand as like people can watch if they're experiencing that same kind of addiction, and then they can experience the healing themselves. I just want to ask what strategies or interventions have proven effective in helping individuals overcome addiction and maintaining lasting recovery. Well, what really makes it stick is the person's desire to surrender the addiction. If a person doesn't want to surrender an addiction, it's better to just walk away and let them do it, and not enable them. And like I said the other day, like what I told my baby sister when I let her live with me, and I told her, no drugs, she's got to get a job, she's got to pay bills, and she won't have, bad people over at my house, and she'll respect me and all this stuff. And then I came in and I found a meth pipe, and I had to do one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and that was to pack up my baby sister's stuff and kick her out and know that she was going to be sleeping on the streets. But I couldn't. I told her, I said, I love you, and I want nothing more than for you to get clean and for you to get help. And I would love to help you, but I know that I'm too close and you won't let me help you. So you go and live your life, and I can't watch you slowly kill yourself. But if you ever decide to get help, then I'm going to ask you to go and get treatment and be clean for at least a year before you reach out. And then I want to hear from your recovery coach or your counselor or your probation officer, whoever it is, have them call me, and then I will allow you back in my life. But until then, I can't do it. And of course, she said, every hateful thing to me under the sun. But then she got help, and she came to me after a year of being sober, did all of the things I asked her to do. And now she has been clean and sober for, I think, 3 years now. And she's got a beautiful baby girl. She's doing incredible. And that wouldn't have happened if I would have continued to enable her. So it's wonderful how a nice support group can do wonders when it comes to healing. You don't even have to pay for an expensive treatment center. You just need someone who can comfort you enough. Well, there is something really powerful in all doing it together. And so that's why when I walk my clients through the 40-day journey, I like to do it with them. I really feel like when we join together, that's when true healing happens. It's not to separate and say, you have the problem and I have the solution. Like, I believe that separation creates more pain and suffering in the world. Being in support groups is proof of how humans really are social beings functioning best with the right group. That's so true. We are tribal species. We need other people. And the one thing that works about a 12-step group is the community aspect. So it was a really beautiful experience. I went live multiple times a day. I did the process with them. And what I got to experience was a very specific process in how addiction, it's like a wave, and it like moves through a person's body and then out. And I could see where it was hitting a person, where it was getting stuck. And I feel like we co-created this process together. And at that time, I was just being guided and doing what I was being guided to do in the moment. I had no idea that taking them through this 3-day water fast was jump-starting the healing, and it pushes out the physical addiction. So people normally go into detox, and it takes them about 2 weeks to physically detox off of drugs or alcohol. But when you do a 3-day water fast, because of autophagy, it kicks that physical addiction out in 3 days. And so then people aren't struggling with the desire to go back to that substance or behavior because of that physical dependency. And so it was beautiful. Like when I was walking through it, on day 3, I was reading, like I was pulling some cards and I was seeing a relationship coming, and then I ended up meeting my partner. So it was such a beautiful, glorious experience that allowed me to write this book. And each person that struggled, that I invited them to allow me to work with them. And I got excited whenever there was something that was really stubborn and not shifting. And as long as the person was willing to go into it and allow me to guide them through surrendering it, we got to the other side. And at any time, if a person like went and used or engaged in their addictive behavior, instead of like shaming you or like, a lot of the times people will run away from a 12-step meeting because they relapsed. And then that makes you spiral, because that guilt and shame, it traps you. I believe that as well. The willingness to surrender and choose to live a better lifestyle is a big part of the process in overcoming addiction and keeping your well-being holistically. Exactly. We are holistic beings. And hopefully our medical system will start to treat the whole person soon. So, we had them start over on day 1 instead of running away from the group. And what that did was, obviously, those initial steps didn't kick it out completely. So starting over allows you to really embody or integrate the process. And every single person that got to day 40, whether it took them 80 days or 40 days or 180 days, every single person that got to that day 40 and did all of the steps, they were completely addiction free. And there was a shift in their consciousness where they don't identify as being a smoker or an alcoholic or a drug addict. They don't identify as that. Once you shift your identity, you don't go back. But if you say, I have 4 days clean and sober, or I haven't smoked for 8 days, like, you're still considering yourself an addict or a smoker. And so because that identity hasn't shifted yet, it's just a matter of time before you end up engaging in that. So, so after I took everybody through that process, it was so incredible. We built such a strong support team, and then Facebook shut down my Facebook account. So I learned, I learned that you don't do things like that on a public platform, but it did work, and it worked for what it was needed for. And so I took all of the information and created an app from it, and started walking people through it one-on-one. And it took me forever to create the app because I'm not exactly tech savvy. And then as I was walking individuals through the process, and every single person that would walk through it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I had no idea there was going to be this much information, and that we were going to be healing, like quantum level healing. I ask you one question and then it unravels. And then I'm like, can you see how this is connected to when your father didn't show up, and and people are just like, whoa. And I was like, I knew that this information needed to be out there, and I was just seeing how it was changing lives. But I also couldn't give the process away for free. I have to pay my bills, and it was years of work to put all this together. And so I was finally at a place where I was charging what it was worth, but knowing that not everybody can afford this. And so I kept hearing, write the book, write the book. How do you decline any invitation from a friend who is still actively using drugs? Well, you got to set boundaries. Understand that that person is teaching you boundaries. And so you just are very direct with them. If you allow somebody who is pretending to be an addict, I would say, don't put that identity on them. I would always say that they're pretending. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You know, if you let them think that there's any way possible to get in, they'll keep pushing. So you have to be very clear and direct and make sure that whatever it is that you're saying, it doesn't change from day to day. You have to be strong in those boundaries and understand that if you're being pushed, it's not their problem. They're showing up to mirror that to you. So I would say exactly what I said to my little sister. I love you, but I will not sit here and watch you kill yourself. And yes, when you have had an addiction yourself and you come out of it, at first you go through this stage where you're like, if you're still going to use, or like, I can't be around you because you're trying to keep yourself safe, right? And that push away energy doesn't allow for healing. But when you take a different approach and you caretake yourself and also not put what you're choosing to do onto your friends and family, and understand that you're the one it's just like going through a spiritual awakening and shifting your belief systems and then getting mad because nobody's woke around you. It's like you're the person that decided to change. So don't blame others for being the same, you know? So just putting it out there, like, this is my choice and this is the way I'm going to live my life from now on. You do what you got to do whatever you want. Just know that if you ever want or choose to live a healthy lifestyle or want support, and I'm, willing to offer that to you, these are my boundaries. This is what I can do, or this is how I can allow you in my life. But if you're still engaging in these behaviors, I can't watch you kill yourself. I mean, who could? If you truly love somebody, how can we just sit back and watch them kill themselves? So, did anybody have any questions? Thank you for your advice. Thousands of our friends out there are still suffering with drug addiction. I hope your story can become an inspiration for them. Well, like, my story doesn't even need to be an inspiration. They just need to get the book and take themselves through the process. And like, no matter what, if they go all the way through the process, they're going to shift. And might take them a couple of times, but eventually they're going to shift out of that. Once you have awareness of the problem, it's a problem half solved. And so it's hard for you to unsee a solution once you become aware of it, and then it becomes easier. So I just hope everybody gets the book and takes themselves through the process, no matter if they think that they have an addiction or not, because it will change your life. And there's processes on how to meditate, how to create sacred space, how to an emotional guided session. So when you're feeling super triggered and you're in anger, you don't have to get mad at your anger, because anger is a valid emotion here to bring us out of powerlessness. And if we stay in powerlessness and never allow ourselves to get angry, then we are just moments away from death, because what signals to the universe, to God, that we're done here on this planet is us vibrating at the frequency of powerlessness. That's why somebody can walk across the street, get hit by a bus, and die. It's because they're in some way, shape, or form vibrating at the frequency of powerlessness. So when we're feeling powerlessness, it's important for us to get angry, but people are afraid of anger. So there's so many processes in this book that will help you in your daily life. and I hope you will all go get your copy. But that is going to be it for today. If you guys have any more questions, definitely put it in the chat and I will get to it tomorrow. But that's a wrap, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.